From the capital city of Charleston, West Virginia, this is Inside West Virginia Politics with Mark Curtis. Inside West Virginia Politics is brought to you by AARP West Virginia, your ally for real possibilities in the Mountain State.
Well, happy Thanksgiving weekend, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Inside West Virginia Politics. I'm your host, Mark Curtis, along with my co-host, Adrian Robbins, and our very special guest, Natalie Tennant. You know her as the former two-term Secretary of State as a Democrat here in West Virginia, and she's running again.
Yes, I am.
Obviously, the voters already are very familiar with you, but tell us a little bit about yourself for those who maybe don't know you.
Oh, wow. Well, folks know me from my last 8 years as Secretary of State. They know the record that I had in modernizing the office, in streamlining the office, in cutting fees for businesses and making it easier for veterans to start a business and help to create jobs in West Virginia. I guess before that, a lot of times folks will remember me as the Mountaineer. I mean, that was, almost 30 years ago, but that's why it's no surprise to people and no secret how much I love West Virginia. You saw it in me as a 22-year-old kid. I was a television reporter who told the stories of West Virginia, and so proud to be able to do that. And so, in addition, public service means a lot to me, and I respect the practice of public service. And more importantly, though, I think that West Virginians deserve someone in office who is a good steward of the money, someone who has put in place the practices that were efficient, that saved businesses money, that saved taxpayers money, that saved offices money, and then I gave back that money. So that's just one reason I'm running for office.
All right, make your pitch to voters why, obviously Mac Warner defeated you in your last re-election, but why should people bring you back, and what are your top priorities going to be? What are they going to see from a new Secretary of State, Natalie Tennant?
That's a great question, and I think that folks have had the opportunity to look at records now, and people will ask me that question, Mark, like, oh, what do you think happened? And I think, well, I didn't show my record well enough. I didn't show my record that, listen, I put into practices of saving West Virginians money by whether it was the waiver for our veterans who wanted to start their business, whether it was through transparency and starting the Freedom of Information Act that made it more transparent and accountable to the people of West Virginia, or whether it was for businesses and starting the one-stop shop business portal that businesses could easily get registered and then go out and create jobs. And so, that's what I'm going to show folks, is that this was my record over the last 8 years, and you deserve to have someone who's going to take care of your money and who's going to be a good manager of the money in the practices that they put in place. Shows the respect that you have for the state.
Now, you talk about some of the practices that you put in while you were in office. I know Mac Warner has gotten a lot of flack from the legislature because he hasn't put in some of these practices like automatic voter registration as quickly as they would like. What is your opinion on automatic voter registration, and how would you like to see that implemented in the state?
That was 3 years ago. Like, I really get frustrated when I hear this. This was 3 years ago when this practice was passed by a bipartisan measure. Republicans led the way, Democrats and a Democrat governor voted for it. And so it's been passed since 2016. It should have been in place in 2017. And not really funny, but I believe in voting rights and I believe in election reform, and that's what I've been doing over the last 3 years of not being Secretary of State, of advocating for automatic voter registration in other states, whether they were red states, blue states, or purple states. And so, when you ask me what do I think about that, I'm thinking, hey, we should have done this 3 years ago. We have a state-of-the-art technology, and he is dragging his feet. He is not allowing West Virginians to move forward, because here we go. It's not 2016 anymore. We're now working on 2020. And we should have already had automatic voter registration, which is a very simple process. People can still decline to register to vote if they want to. This is not something we're making people register to vote. So we should have had that implemented, 3 years ago, 3 years ago. And now we would be working on other reforms that need to be in place, because folks are focused on 2020, how safe are our elections. Our elections are safe, but there are practices that can be put in place, like a risk limiting audit that allows you to take a look at the end of the election, and you have a statistical number of ballots that you look at, and you can measure of whether or not those votes have been counted. And we're so far behind now because he wouldn't put that in place.
All right, well, we're going to hear from Mac Warner, not in this program. We've invited him on.
Yep.
His office tells me that he'll come on as soon as he files for re-election, but and we'll have you back certainly as we get closer to the campaign. But we want to thank Democrat Natalie Tennant, former Secretary of State for 2 terms here in West Virginia. Good to see you again, fellow broadcaster. It's kind of fun to be back out here, I bet, isn't it? All right, we're going to have more Inside West Virginia politics after this break. Stay with us.
Now back to Inside West Virginia Politics with Mark Curtis.
And welcome back to Inside West Virginia Politics this weekend. We're getting ever closer to the legislature convening in January for its annual 60-day session. We want to get some impressions from one of our freshman delegates, Amanda Estep-Burton, Democrat of Kanawha County. Great to have you on the program.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
You have now served in the legislature for 1 year. You're running for re-election. What are your impressions of what you've seen so far?
I was really impressed with the way that we were able to work together throughout the committee processes. The political climate is, on a national level, very, very divisive. I feel like on most aspects within our state house, we can put party politics aside and learn to get along and move things forward.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues in West Virginia where I think people need to work together on. Obviously, there's no such thing as a Democratic or Republican or heroin addict.
Right.
The opioid crisis is something I see you guys coming together with on jointly, and some other issues. As we go forth into 2020 in the next session, what are your hopes? Any legislation you want to see that are must-pass things?
I have a lot of, speaking of the opioid epidemics, I'm trying to expand Medicaid access for mental health care for new mothers, for postpartum mothers, for people that are needing addiction and recovery treatments. That would be one of my big goals. And then also making sure that our roads are taken care of, road maintenance and things like that we were promised last year that didn't actually happen.
Yeah, it's going to be a big issue because not only is it you start the legislative session in the middle of winter, it's also a campaign year. Yeah. So for political reasons, it'll be big too. Many people probably don't know this, but you're a banker by trade. And I've got to ask you some finance questions. Sure. Last year we had $541 million in excess revenue that was not anticipated. Mm-hmm. This year we're also already seeing deficits. At some months we were down by $33 million. What are your concerns about that? And especially because we know it's because of the volatility of the coal industry. Do we have to diversify our economy to flatten out our revenue stream in the state?
Well, absolutely. And then this last session, we were told that we needed to cut severance tax to create jobs. Well, I don't know that I've seen any job creation, but I've seen a lack of revenue from those cut severance taxes. So we have to replace, and we can't just start cutting jobs and things. We absolutely need to diversify our economy and get away from the coal industry. I want to support the coal industry, but we need to expand.
Okay. It occurs to me we've had 2 straight years of teacher strikes, 2 straight years of 5% pay raises, not just for the teachers, but for all state employees. How are you guys going to handle that this year? I think there's probably an expectation that maybe there are going to be some more raises, but the governor has not made the promise that he did at this time last year, saying, I'm going to get you 5% again.
Well, the deficit in our CPS workers is a prime example of why we have to pay people better. We're not going to attract talent to West Virginia and end the opioid epidemic if we don't invest in our people. So I don't know if you've read recently, there's a huge deficit in CPS workers. Their caseloads are overloaded, but we pay them like less than $30,000 a year, and we require them to have college degrees. It's just not a professional salary. And correct me if I'm wrong, CPS stands for Child Protective Services.
Yes, these are the people, let's say a man or a woman or a couple, and this has happened often, are in custody on drug charges or in the rehab, who's taking care of their kids. It's a big issue in the state, isn't it? It's absolutely a big issue. I think we have 7,000 children in foster care. Yeah, and then we have a lot of kids being raised by their grandparents or other relatives and so forth. You've made kind of a splash, and I don't mean to make light of this issue because I think it's a serious issue, but you've made quite a splash lately on social media, on Facebook, about the lack of women's restrooms for the legislators. If you walk into the Capitol, you'll see a restroom that say, delegates only, male delegates only, and you guys wanted one for women as well. I mean, it's a serious issue. Absolutely, and it's not that we wanted one for women only. It's that our restroom is the public restroom outside of the chambers, way on the other side, which is the majority side, and then down the hallway.
And if there's any public people there waiting, we have to wait. And I pride myself when showing up for work every day and being present and being involved. And I actually missed a vote, so I don't have a 100% voting record because I was waiting to use the restroom. It's not that I actually just wanted access to a restroom closer. It doesn't have to be members only. Just give me access to an accessible restroom that I can use.
All right, we hope it all works out. And like I said, people make light of this, especially on social media, but you're right. You get elected to go down there and serve the public. You want to cast each and every vote.
And there are times we're on the floor for 12 hours at a time.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true. We look forward to seeing you in January. Delegate Amanda Eastep-Burton, Democrat of Kanawha County, thanks for being with us on Inside West Virginia Politics. And we'll have more of our program after this break. Stay with us.
Thanks.
Now back to Inside West Virginia Politics with Mark Curtis.
Welcome back to Inside West Virginia Politics. We're moving a little past politics now and on to National Adoption Month. Kylie Hassan from Mission, West Virginia, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
I ran into you and your folks covering an event at the Capitol the other day, and one of our reporters was covering your event, and I was just fascinated by it. What does Mission West Virginia do? I know it's National Adoption Month, as Adrian mentioned. What is the purpose of your organization, and what does it provide in West Virginia?
So Mission West Virginia, we're a nonprofit here in Hurricane. We also cover the entire state of West Virginia. Our mission is to change the lives of youth and families in West Virginia, and we have two main programs that do that. We have our Think program that stands for Teaching Health Instead of Nagging Kids, and they go into about 20 counties in the state and teach teens about healthy relationships, communication skills, teen pregnancy prevention, things like that. And then our Frameworks program, which focuses on finding families for children in foster care, and that's why we're celebrating this month as National Adoption Month.
It's obviously Thanksgiving weekend and we have Christmas right around the corner. It seems like a great time to have this month be geared towards the holidays. What's kind of the message that you want to get out there to people about adoption who maybe don't know that much about it?
Yes, so we came up with a theme to stick to for the month, that it takes a village. You know, we've all heard it takes a village to raise children, and we think that everyone plays an important part in the village that it takes to support these families. And adoption, especially adoption from foster care, can be so rewarding, and each of us play a crucial role in that. So we're really excited to stick to that theme this month and show people how important it is to these children that we find loving and safe permanent homes for them.
As we all know, the opioid crisis has put tremendous pressure and strain on the foster care system in the state. Many kids being raised by grandparents, other folks that are being adopted. I mean, how much does that impact what you guys are trying to do? How much do you deal with that?
Yeah, the impact is huge. We see, you know, the last numbers that we saw at the end of October were that almost 7,000 children were in foster care. I think the numbers were 6,996. About 3,500 of that number, those children are with relative and kinship. And those are only the numbers that we know of that are being reported through the system. But we know that it has absolutely exploded in the state with relatives caring for their relatives. And we have seen great-grandparents in their 90s caring for children under 10. And, you know, if you were a 90-year-old, you would never expect to be in that position. And so we have a program that helps those relatives kind of guide them through the system as a support and a resource, because it can be very confusing. It can be very hard to go through being a parent again, you know, in your 90s.
The need is obviously out there for foster parents and also adoptive parents. At that same event at the Capitol you're talking about, there was one guy who said, I never thought I could be a foster parent.
Yes.
He's like, now I've fostered many kids, they've adopted a couple now, they're very happy with it. Do you hear that from a lot of people? I could never do that.
Absolutely. It's, you know, it's a thing. It's not an easy pitch to people. But it's absolutely very rewarding. It's a very hard thing to go through. And a lot of people, like Danny Gill, who is our foster adoptive parent that spoke at the Capitol event, he, when his wife first brought up the idea, he said, absolutely no way. I can't do that. A lot of people's fears are that they're going to get attached to these children and then they'll leave. And that is true. It's very important to get attached to these children, because the children may have never had attachment before to someone, and they remember you. Even if you leave their home and go, if they go back to their biological parent or if they move placements, they will remember those foster parents that showed them that love, safety, and permanency for the time being.
We're down to about 30 seconds. This is a fascinating discussion. It occurs to me that this Tuesday is Giving Tuesday. It seems in the holiday season every day has an event like Cyber Monday.
You're right.
First, tell us your website, and if folks want to make contributions, maybe they're not ready to adopt, but they would like to contribute to what you folks do, where can they reach you?
Sure, yeah, there's lots of different ways that people can help, so they can visit us on the web at www.missionwv.org.
All right, well, thank you so much, Kylie Hassan from Mission, West Virginia. It was great talking to you about this, of
Thank
course.
you very much.
We're going to make an interesting transition here. We're going to go from talking about adoption to talking about the ski slopes opening here in West Virginia. Stay tuned for that on Inside West Virginia Politics.
Now back to Inside West Virginia Politics with Mark Curtis.
And welcome back to our final segment on Inside West Virginia Politics. Look, we've talked politics for 3 segments. We got to have a little fun here. I want to introduce Joe Stephen. He's the spokesman for the West Virginia Ski Areas Association, because ski season is now open in the Mountain State, and we want to talk about that.
On Friday, November 22nd, Mark, everybody started going downhill. Things started going downhill in West Virginia as snowshoe dropped the ropes on that day, and ski season is now upon us. And we've been just having some good time, lots of snowmaking, and we're getting ready for the season just to keep moving forward.
People might be saying, well, why are they talking about skiing on a Sunday political show? Or look, politics is involved creating public policy, and one of the things they create public policy for is tourism in this state, and that's why we're having you on. How big of a deal is this for tourism annually in West Virginia, and where are people coming from to visit here?
Well, we usually have about 800,000 skier visits during the season here in West Virginia. That traditionally goes around the Thanksgiving holiday through into early April. It means 5,000 jobs for people in the Mountain State, and that's not only at the resorts but at the adjacent restaurants and hotels and that sort of thing. It also means $250 million in an economic impact for the state of West Virginia. So there's a lot of things that go into the ski industry, but it means a lot to West Virginia tourism.
Yeah, I did a fun thing when I was at Stonewall last time. Of course, Stonewall is not a ski resort, but I was there, and I just took a survey of the parking lot to see how many out-of-state, and I think I counted 11 different states that were represented that particular Sunday in the parking lot, and I assume the ski resorts are very similar.
In fact, Florida is one of our largest states that we draw from, and coming up with the Christmas holidays, I would at least half of the attendance at the resorts at Snowshoe, Winter Place, and Canaan will be from Florida, and a lot of them have never seen snow ever. But we also draw from Virginia, North Carolina, and Ohio, so we draw a lot from all around the region.
You mentioned the 3 resorts or ski areas that are operational right now. I understand there was a big development this week in the resort in Tucker County. Tell me the name of it, and it had gone out of business or bankrupt, and now it's coming back.
Timberline Ski Resort was purchased in an auction by Perfect North Slopes, which is out of Indiana. It's a Midwest resort. It was purchased for $2.2 million. Won't be operating this year, but the folks at Perfect North are looking to operate in the 2020-2021 season. They're a great, respected business in the ski industry. Chip Perfect is the president. He has been on site kicking the tires. They're excited about being part of the West Virginia ski industry.
This is exciting. I was up in Tucker County about a month ago for the first time that I ventured onto the middle section of Corridor H, and the first thing that crossed my mind is, oh my God, when this thing finally gets completed, all of Corridor H, it's going to bring a lot of people into West Virginia during the summer, the spring, the fall, and in particular people coming to ski in the winter. How significant do you folks view that development?
2 things on that. Corridor H, or Route 48 as it is now known officially, it was opened in the mid-90s from Ohio to Elkins, and that opened up a lot from that side of the United States, from Ohio and that area. But this quarter now from D.C. to Davis, which is now open, it's cutting 45 minutes to almost an hour of the travel time from the folks from the nation's capital, and that's just opening up all kinds of possibilities for tourism in the Canaan Valley area.
Yeah, I had so much fun up there. I want to buy a cabin or something, maybe make an Airbnb. It's great. Mention your website and where folks can get information and when all the resorts may be open. I know it's a guess, but
GoSkiWV.com. That's GoSkiWV.com. That's the portal for information on the ski industry here in West Virginia. Not Timberline, but Winter Place and Canaan Valley will be opening later this month in December. Snowshoe has already been opening. They opened on the 22nd. It's all downhill from here.
It's all downhill from here. Sounds like my career. Just kidding. I'm going to be around a good long time hosting Inside West Virginia Politics. We want to thank Joe Stevens, our good friend from the West Virginia Ski Areas Association. Have a terrific ski season. We'll see you back here real soon. We'll talk politics next time you're in. Okay?
Let gravity be your friend.
All right. And check out our podcast, by the way, from your favorite podcast location. We'll see you back here next Sunday on Inside West Virginia Politics.